Love and light. Love and light. Hello, everyone. I hope everyone is doing well on this beautiful um, Monday afternoon. Today is March 21st, 2016. Yes, I'm on a roll today. I am really behind on some videos. So I'm trying to, knock them out all at one time and doing them separately so it won't be so long and people get confused. Um, my name is Reverend Penelope Stewart. I own an online bookstore, Kim 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 Ancestry. Sorry, Kim Ancestry. In short, run chemistry. Um, I want to talk about a little bit about voodoo religion. Don't get all spooked out or you know, don't get spooked out or get scared or anything. It's nothing scary about our religion or spiritual practices. That's Hollywood. That's just superficial stuff to make us scared of our own selves. Tapping into the source. That's all it is. Propaganda. It's propaganda. It's fake. It's untrue. Um, it's just Hollywood bullcrap. Okay, so you're gonna have to get your mind out of how Hollywood um, depicts our religion or our spiritual practices. Okay, because what we do is very spiritual. It is really it is effective. Okay, and it's very powerful. African spirituality is one of the most powerful spiritual practice in the world. It is the first form of spiritual practice in the world. It has been plagiarized by other cultures, and practiced by other cultures and modified by them to fit whatever culture they got going on. Um, but this book by Mama Zogbe. She a Hunun. Uh, why Americans fear their cosmetic genetic paths to God. Don't let the front kind of fool you or throw you off. It's just the image. Okay. Uh, this is a really good book, and I've always felt like this. She's confirmed some things in this book that I've always said to myself. It was just a whole bunch of crap the way they depict our stuff. But I'm gonna read this brief forward on this, and then I'm gonna talk about this. Why do we fear it? So I'm gonna read this forward, and this is a good book. It's a very short book. It's only about let's see, it's only 40 pages. It's not a long book. So you can check it out, read it. It's a really good book. You'll learn a lot about yourself. You'll get rid of the deceptions and biasness that you got in your head, all these barriers you have about refusing to know who you are or know more about African religions or spiritual practices. This book, you drop all those fears because it's just a lot of misconception and deception. That's all it is. Okay. She talks about this, and I've always felt like Vodoun and Orisha, those were uh those were our spiritual, that was a part of our culture. It was never was stop it was never not supposed to be. We were supposed to keep practicing it. We're not supposed to be in what we see today, these religions that we see today, because they just make no sense. They don't connect to us. This is somebody else modified concept of their understanding, where they can understand things. That for their culture. It's not for African people. It's not based on African people. All this is based on these people understanding of their spiritual concepts. They modify it for themselves. It is originally comes from us. Okay, every spiritual practice you see out here today, it it came from us. I mean, I wish you could start thinking this way. Start thinking this way. It's important for you to start thinking this way. It says, the foreword said, it has been nearly a half a century since the civil rights movement. It is the understood by most scholars that the struggle for human dignity came at a heavy price, in which descendants of the enslaved are still paying today. In spite of the advances in social and human rights, the black family is still struggling to survive as a fundamental culture unit. More than half of black children are growing up without fathers. Black men are incarcerated into the into the for profit prison industrial complex in disproportionate numbers. The number of black American businesses has actually decreased, and their profits have little to no economic or political impact on greater community. Black children are still being educated in poorly funded and staffed schools that teach a largely Eurocentric curriculum in which they learn little to nothing about themselves. The impact of obesity, violence, homelessness, mental illness, drugs, AIDS, and other social and biological diseases are impacting the black community without any relief in sight. The dwindling black middle class remains isolated, alienated in white suburbs in their attempts to offer a better life for their own children. Literally, millions of black children are being misdiagnosed as attention deficit and are heavily medicated. Black men and women suffer from a mental and spiritual illness without realizing its African spiritual roots. See, that's why I have another page on my face. I have a Facebook page called Spiritual Roots. I did have an organization called Spiritual Roots, but now I have a Facebook page, and that's why I named it that, because I've always felt that way. Yet the one major factor they all boast in common is that they are Christian or Muslim, the two major dogmatic Western religious traditions which claim to save them from their African barbarity, elevating them into the global human spiritual family. That's what they claim. Few in the diaspora question the myth that Africans enslaved to build the economic foundation of America were Christians. Some actually believe that being forced to serve a Western Christian God was the best thing that happened out of the horror of slavery. Few are even aware that before there was the war on drugs, there was a vicious, unrelenting, serious war on African religious practices in America. A spiritual and cultural war in which many lost their lives. In stringent laws and passed forbidding the crafting of drums, ceremonial dances, parades, and other community gatherings in celebration of the ancestor and African spirit. That's why I tell you, celebrate your ancestors. Come out, people. Come out to honoring African ancestors matter. Make a difference in your community. Come out and celebrate with us. Okay, celebrate our African ancestors. Okay, because that makes all the difference in our living. I promise you that. I can't express that or emphasize that to you enough. Okay, the highly respected body of priestess and priests were forced underground in order to continue the ancient and powerful tradition of ancestral veneration and services to their clan and totem deities. In the turn of the century, brainwashed free slaves were converted to Christianity and placed in pulpit where they remain today. The original role was to condition the masses of sharecropping and domestic blacks to the new slave theology. Black women who descend from an ancient past of spiritual autonomy and authority in Africa were now forced into subservient roles in Western Christian churches, a social ploy designed to temper their insurrectionist fires. Black women, I hope you heard that. Okay? The racist and demeaning imagery of Vodoun and other African religions practiced by blacks in America stood side by side with blackface minstrels and other disparaging images of blacks. New generations of blacks were born longing to be free, shamefully rejected spiritual knowledge of their ancestors as superstitious, and refused the call of family deities. The ancestral disruption has caused devastating consequences for the black family. So, are you listening to that? Let me read that again. The ancestral disruption has caused devastating consequences for the black family. So, you come out, you honor your ancestors, and see how wonderful your life is going to change. I can't emphasize that enough. I hope you get this point. I hope this resonates with you. Many whose minds are now riddled with fear, ignorance, have no idea that cutting the diaspora away from their ancient spiritual roots was the most major coup d'esprit, which finally broke the backs and impoverished the spirits of blacks in America. Today, even many educated blacks who profess a profound knowledge of Africa secretly rejects its religions without realizing that the state of African religions is ultimately result of centuries of warfare against Western encroachment, colonialism, and corruption within its own ranks. Until the present, those undertake the expensive journey of seeking out their ancestral religious rights are often rejected by their Christian families and are secretly mocked as strange, evil, or even insane. So you're going to get that people that you're transitioning out of Christian religion, you're going to get that. That's just how they are. But keep honoring the ancestors, calling on them, believing in them because they are real. They are very, very real. And just call on them to start helping you heal that family line. That's what I do. That's what I do. I call on them to help to heal that family line when I go to my altar and I light my candle. I call on them to heal that family line when I pour my libations and I talk to them. Why is it taking the black community so long to recognize their cosmogenetic, bio-spiritual connection to their ancient ancestors and deities? I don't know what's taking y'all so long. You can feel it because I feel it. I feel it. I know y'all feel it. I don't know why y'all keep rejecting or whatever else. If you don't know, this is the fact of the matter. Nobody's trying to be funny or biased, racist, or anything like this. These are facts. And that's all I can tell you is facts. I won't get into beliefs or religions or anything with you. I'm talking about the history of your ancestors, the spiritual practice of your ancestors. And that's all I'm going to stick with. That's all I know. That was first. I'm not going to get into religion with you. This dogmatic, somebody else plagiarizing something from us. I mean, I'm just not going to argue with you about it. Okay. Um, how is it possible that Afrocentric scholars can proudly expound upon the lost and hidden glory of Africa and yet shamefully shudder at its so-called paganism fetish practices without making the obvious connection between Africa's glory and their gods? How is it possible for the average black American to not deny and fear more than 70,000 years of divine spirit and ancestors that run through their veins? Why has the diaspora not taken up the most fundamental human rights struggle of reclaiming the religions that their ancestors brought to America, which formed the most crucial part of themselves as a people? What happened to the African religions in America, and why are African Americans searching elsewhere for their salvation while secretly despising their native African souls? Why has the diaspora continued to allow Hollywood and Western Christian evangelicals to define, misrepresent, demonize, and mock their spiritual soul and cultural practices of African religions such as Vodoun or Voodoo? It is not possible for these same media forces to mock Islam, Hinduism, Buddhism, or any other spiritual tradition in the manner which they disrespect those of the African. Why does the diaspora sit passively allow the public humiliation of their ancestors and gods by themselves, rappers, and other people? It is said that a picture is worth 1,000 words. They can speak and tell a story that America has long ago hidden in its archives of shame. There were many wars fought against the enslaved African to force their compliance. This story, one of the most important, needs to needs to toll for the countless numbers who are unaware of just how the majority in diaspora learn to despise their most sacred spiritual heritage. In the end, it's diaspora who has a duty to learn to honor and to respect their spiritual history. Re-education and reclamation is the crucial key which can aid in the unlocking centuries of fear, ignorance, and shame. This brief illustrated history of religious self-hatred it is hoped and aids in the healing process. So I mean, this is a really good book. She goes through here and show you the propaganda that America created to eliminate the religious practice of our ancestors. Um, but they use them themselves. You'll see that in these meetup. I mean, not the meetup. In these groups on Facebook. It's a group that I was in on Facebook. There was some type of voodoo group, and they love the practice of our ancestors. They love the power of our spiritual practices, but they won't honor our ancestors, and nor would they allow you to talk about the history of our ancestors or honor them or bring up that subject or pay, put any images up that depict our ancestors, what voodoo is really about. And so, to me, that's a disrespect to our ancestors. It's a disrespect. It's just a disrespect, and it's disgraceful. And I strongly feel that way. Uh, that's not another pleasant way to say it. Okay. Um, but my thing to you, if you don't honor the ancestors, you know what I'm saying? I question: are you really doing what you're saying you can do? Are you really in contact with what you say you're in contact with? You know what I'm saying? I question that because that they refuse the truth. You know, I don't see what I just I don't know how to I don't see how that's working for you. That's basically what I think. I'm not saying it's not working for you. It may be working for you, but I don't see how. I don't see how. I really don't. The same thing with kind of with this new age thing. They don't like talk about nothing like that either. They kind of like we all are one type of thing, and we are on us in a certain sense. We are before, but far as connecting with who we truly are and our deities or whatever, it is totally different because see that you have to understand their spiritual concepts is based off ours. Okay, it's just that simple. I'm not gonna make that complicated for you because it's not. Okay, uh, these angels and all that stuff, they made that up. You know what I'm saying? On that's something they Christianize. That's is their term. This is not the term I'm using. This is the term they use when they so called take these pagan holidays and inject them into their culture. They say they Christianize them. So that's theirs. But for you, what your ancestors left for you is primordial. It's the beginning. Is the energy is more intense, and it consists of everything. The first, the beginning. That type of energy when it is channeled and you know it is very powerful and it gives you access to all types of power. That's another reason why they try to keep us away from it. Look up primordial energy. It's very interesting. It's a very interesting look it up because you'll learn a lot, and that's the kind of energy that's running through our veins. Okay, it is the first people. That is that primordial genetic energy that's running through us. It is connected to everything, nature and all things around us. you know um that's what that is. But this is a very good book by Mama Zaga. Look this up. Voodoo, why African Americans fear their cosmogenetic paths to God. And we are genetically linked to our ancestors and our gods, our deities. This is a fact. Okay, when you start looking through history, one of the Orishas, I think it's Shango, was actually a king, and he was later deified as a Orisha. These are facts. Okay, um, so look this stuff up. Get the book. I hope you enjoyed this book review. I hope it helped you. For those that are looking for African religion, um, Voodoo is one of them. It's the oldest one. It's one of the oldest religions on uh, on the planet. But I'm gonna do a book review about that in just a second, so you can watch that book review about Voodoo. This is just telling you about the propaganda that was forged against African religions. It's very enlightening. So, and it's called Voodoo: Why African Americans Fear Their Cosmogenetic Paths to God by Mama Zogbe. Okay, I got it from Amazon. I don't think I have it available on Chemistry. I don't think I do. I think I can get it for you though. Uh, you can go through my website and log on to Amazon and see if I have available for you. So you can get it through Chemistry. You probably can. So just try that and get the book. This is really good book. But I hope you enjoyed the review. Thank you for watching. Please share this video with others so they can learn more about the history of our African spiritual practices, the truth about our religions and spiritual practices. And I thank you so much. Again, my name is Penelope Stewart, Reverend Penelope Stewart, and I run a online store called Kim Ancestry, and I am an organizer of a group called Honoring African Ancestors Matters on meetup.com. You can go there and you can join for free. Help us organize, celebrate our ancestors. We thank you so much for watching. Thank you. We love you. And may the ancestors lead you to truth. Light and love, everybody. Peace.